It's so good to have you both. Welcome back to another episode of Chambers, Changes, and Conversations, where we sit down with the people shaping the systems that keep Manatee County running strong. I am Director of Government Relations, Stephanie Garrison. Casey's out today. And today we are talking about services that we all rely on. Water, waste, and everything in between, with two leaders who know these systems inside and out. Between them, they've got nearly 60 years in the industry, a few dozen certifications, and more awards than any office wall could hold. I've seen them. We're so happy that they're not only a part of the Manatee County team, but our guests here on today's episode of Chambers, Changes, and Conversations. Please welcome Utilities Director Patrick Shea, Pat Shea, as we call him, and Deputy Director Chris Collins. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Yep, can't imagine being anywhere else on a Monday morning.
So let's start with the thing that we've been working on all year, the Big Bin Advantage. We've just rolled out a new solid waste change, new system. Tell us a little bit what's been going on in Manatee County Solid Waste, Chris.
The Big Bin is here. So we just started week 3 of the rollout. It's been a long, treacherous process over the last several years. People don't realize how much work's gone into it. They just see the bin show up and just assume that we just made that decision here in utilities, which we didn't. We've been working on this for several years, and it's here, and it's dropping services down from 2 days a week to 1 day a week, and all this has to do with efficiencies. So so far the rollout's, I would call it a success so far. There's the bumps in the road. You're dealing with 150,000 plus accounts in a county this size. So we're just working out those hiccups right now, but it's going really well.
And Pat, one of the questions that I've gotten the most in handling the change management communications is, why did we do this? Walk us through some of the history and what people need to know about where this change started.
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. And I think Chris hit on it. Really, the benchmark is the efficiency standpoint. Really, we kind of some people will mistake that the county itself doesn't pick up the garbage. We have contract haulers. So there are franchise haulers. We have 2 within the county that have been servicing the area really since the early 2000s. So the contract with them was amended and restated earlier in 2024, and that really led to where we are today. This was really kind of a decision that had evolved really in 2018 or so. The negotiations with the 2 contract haulers took place. The board in early 2024 approved a new contract, or extending the contract with the 2 haulers, and that really got us where we are today. It is pretty much an industry standard across the country, a 1 day a week service model. And Manatee County was fortunate over the last really the last 15 plus years to have a twice a week service pickup. And it was really just a factor of the economy of it, and then what levels of service those haulers are able to provide.
That's right. So there were really just 2 choices. We could continue the twice a week pickup, and it would have cost a significant amount more, correct?
That's correct. So the enterprise fund solid waste, your solid waste fees that are on your utility bill pay for all of this. So it's not a tax. It's not a change in your tax status. It's all an enterprise fund paid by fees. So in 2015 or so, the utility, the county, increased solid waste fees over several years to get to where we are today. So it's a mistake people make that, since it's going from twice a week to once a week, are my rates going to change, or should my rates change? Really, the rate was established considering moving to a 1 day a week service. And one pushback on the rates is, you were limited to a 32 gallon bin. That was kind of in the contract, that was in our policies and procedures. Now you have 96 gallon bins, so you actually have 3 times as much volume in those bins that you're able to dispose of. The haulers were very accommodating, because there was a person on the back of the truck that could sling the waste into the trucks themselves. So people could have bigger bins, they could throw stuff on the side of the bins and that kind of thing, and that service level was attainable at the time. Now with the single operator and an ASL automatic side loading arm, it's just not possible anymore.
That's right. And we got new trucks. So that ASL, Chris, tell us about this new truck and why part of this happened at the same time as the big bin.
Right. The ASL's automatic side loaders. They allow the driver to drive and collect your trash without getting out of the truck. So he just drives by, puts out an arm. It's kind of like Star Wars. He's got a little controller, and he reaches out there and grabs it with a claw, loads it in the back of the truck. So it's really going to improve efficiencies and allow these drivers to do the routes quicker. They're learning right now. So like I said, that's some of the bumps we're getting through right now, right at the start of the rollout. The drivers learning how to control those arms best and working. But it's going to be a lot more efficient operation once we get going.
It's true. And so you brought up a couple of things that we want people to know. So it's an automated truck or automated arm that they're using. One of the things that a lot of people I've seen get wrong is they've thought that we eliminated jobs because of moving to an automated truck. Tell us, what's the truth here? Yeah,
there is so much growth right now in this area. They are begging for drivers. They're begging for more staff. So they have staff behind the scenes just like we do and doing business. So they are adding more trucks, more drivers. They are adding more personnel that are handling the books and stuff like that, the office type work at the facility. So they are asking for more people. So it's definitely nobody's losing their job, 100%.
And also, this was a safety move on behalf of the haulers, too. So talk a little bit about why this was another thought in deciding to move to the automated trucks.
Yeah, it's one of the most dangerous jobs in the country.
Really?
You're riding on the back of a truck, hanging onto a pole as the driver's going down the road, however fast he's going. So it's highly dangerous just for that aspect of it. And then as well on the guy's back. So, he's loading these cans all day long, picking them up, bending over, throwing them in the back of the truck. So it's a high injury profession. So this really helps, those people in that industry have a longer career and prevent those type of injuries.
And not to mention too, being outside in the Florida heat, riding on the back versus driving and having a CDL, being able to be in the air conditioning for more of the shift, that has to make an impact as well.
Yeah, 100%.
So a couple of things you've mentioned. These automated trucks, they require that spacing. So what are we seeing right now, and what could we advise people about when it comes to putting out all of their different bins?
And that's the learning curve we're going through right now. It's a 3-foot space. That's part of our contract with the haulers, and their residents. You have to have a 3-foot space between the materials you put out, and that's for him to work that claw in there to grab the material. Now the drivers, they don't have a tape measure, and they're not going out there jumping out of the truck measuring, oh, you're only 2.5 feet, I'm not picking up your material. But it's just to make people conscious about, hey, leave some space so that claw can get in there and work the bin. So once you see it happen, you'll know how the operation works.
So just reminding everybody, when you put that garbage out or your recycling out, leave some space, put it on the curb, and the driver's going to do their best to put it back on the curb. I know that's something we've heard from residents too, that the bins weren't left. How should they give feedback if they notice something that's not right?
311, Manatee 311, let us know. And that's another thing with this this new hauler contract. We are holding the haulers accountable.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, we use what's called the liquidated damages, the LD's term, and we can fine them for not picking up your trash or causing damage to your property. We have that in place in our agreement. So we want to hear from residents. It's not, you're not bugging us. So let us know if the haulers aren't performing.
Yeah, if you see something, say something. That phrase applies here. If we don't know about it, if it's not reported, then we can't actually investigate and learn if the hauler actually did what they were supposed to do or didn't. So
Correct.
There's another cool feature of this truck. So tell us about the third eye.
Third eye, yep. The trucks are equipped with camera technology. So they can, the haulers themselves can view their drivers. We don't need to see that information. So we want to see what's happening outside the truck. So they have a camera that views the front of the truck. They have a camera that views the arm when it goes out and picks up the material. And they have a camera that views the rear of the truck. So we can see, whatever's going on with that truck when it's in operation. If that driver turns that key on, cameras are activated and we can see everything. And what that helps with is if a driver comes to your neighborhood and whether it's causes damage, runs over your mailbox, and you call, there's no he said, she said anymore. We pull up the camera footage and we can see it. Or, hey, they didn't pick up my can. We can get on there and view it. Yeah, you're right. They didn't pick it up, and we them come back
That's
out and pick
right.
it up.
So the new service, you have to have your bin out by 6 a.m. And until what time should we be worried if it actually got missed?
6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's the time frame we're saying, and really there's nothing changed there. It's always been that. It's just a little more important now, especially when you're only getting picked up once a week. So the big thing is we want to make sure people have their garbage out by 6 a.m. And we've been asked many times from residents all the way to our elected officials, can't we narrow that time frame down? And really, there's no way to specifically do that because a driver can get pulled off, a truck can get break down, somebody could call in sick, they've got to readjust who's driving where. So it's really hard to narrow down a time frame. And if we did have that time frame narrowed down and something happened, then that'd create a whole new flux of issues and complaints.
Yeah, that's right. So some folks, maybe they're snowbirds, they're just coming back into town. How do they find their new pickup day if they're not sure?
The resident information tool, one of our favorite things in utilities, because it not only will allow you to pull up and see what day your pickup is, there's all kinds of other neat account information on there that you can view for utilities wise.
That's good. Now, the other thing we get asked a lot is, okay, what if I want an additional bin? How would I go about doing that?
Same thing. You can get on our website and request an additional bin that way, or you're welcome to call in. But there is a charge for an additional bin. You can have as many as you want, but there is a cost to it. It's a cost of doing service. So we can utilities, like Pat was saying earlier, it's the cost of doing business. We're not raising rates or adding these costs to pack our coffers somewhere. This is the cost of doing business. So if that hauler has to come out and pick up extra garbage, it's not only more work for that hauler, it's also adding more garbage to our landfill, which has a limited life. So there is a cost. So an extra bin is $13.32 per bin. Have as many as you want. Or we really promote recycling. We want people to recycle more. You can have as many recycle bins as you want for $5.13.
Additional. That's good to know. So what about the other end? I mean, one of the things, I'm a family of 6. I love my big bin. I need my big bin. But there are a lot of people who don't need that large bin. This is something we've been asked about, and it was a critical decision, I think, that the county made to ensure a smooth rollout to start with one size. But we are introducing a smaller size. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Like I said, we put out 150,000 plus bins. So just doing that with one size was a logistical nightmare. We're making it work, but it was a lot. So to try to throw in a different size at the same time we're doing that, it would have been a catastrophe. But we do offer a 64-gallon bin. We just aren't offering it until January. So starting December 1st, if you really feel after these first couple months of trying that 96, it's really too big, there's no reason I would ever need this, yes, we'll allow you to go to a 64. And you can request that through our customer service portal. And December 1st that starts, and then January is when we'll start rolling out those bins.
Right.
We don't even have them on site yet. So.
Right. So, and we're just asking folks, use your bin, test it out. Right now, we're about to go into holidays. We're about to go into seeing more packages, more packaging, all kinds of things. So we do think there's something there about testing it with this big bin. But come January, that service will be available. Again, 311. You can also go into your utilities portal. So there's another cool thing that we're trying out, piloting for our utilities portal, and that deals with reminders. Maybe, Pat, tell us a little bit about the new option to remind you.
Sure. Thank you. And Chris expanded on the getting into your utility portal and looking at all the features in there. One of them is to be able to get a text reminder. So that text reminder around 6 p.m. the day before your pickup day will send you just a very simple text reminder. We're hoping to expand what that text reminder will do. We will not use that information for other purposes. It will be simply a garbage, solid waste related texting service. It's in service right now. We're seeing some growth in the use of that, and so we're just starting to roll that out. And I think the county's social will have some more information, kind of a how-to do that.
Absolutely. And it's something we're piloting, so we'd love your feedback. We're hoping that text reminder the day before will just help you get that one thing, get it out tonight in time for 6 a.m. the next day. Okay. So last but not least, what is the website if anyone has any questions about the new Big Bin changes?
mymanatee.org/bigbin, BIN.
Perfect. Okay, just switching gears. Speaking of big, we've got a major sustainability project that's gaining momentum called Waste to Worth. This one is a really big deal, and it's turning landfill methane into renewable natural gas that can power homes. Pat, break us down how this works and what does this mean for Manatee County residents?
Sure. The Board of County Commissioners just approved a contract. It's a form of a public-private contract with Johnson Controls and No Petro Energy to build a gas plant located near the landfill. So the landfill naturally, through the decomposition of garbage, generates methane. That methane has been literally burned off since the landfill really went into operation. We use 25% of it for some wastewater plant use. The other 75% has been burned off. So in 2024, the board directed staff to look for a guaranteed energy savings project. The best and most qualified firm was JCI. So we've been in partnership with them in kind of scaling out and developing a project. So the project that was approved is at no cost to Manatee County. We will provide them the commodity, which is a dirty gas from the landfill. They will clean that gas to a line quality gas. So they will inject that gas directly into the TECO pipeline. So it'll essentially land gas line quality. So renewable energy, generated right here in Manatee County. And as part of that, part of the sales of that gas to the system, the county will be reimbursed or will be paid for that commodity. So no cost, 20-year agreement, guaranteed energy savings. So if they ever fall short in the revenue that's generated, JCI is responsible to compensate the county back for that dollar amount. So it's really a win-win. It's a good project for Manatee County. It's a good project for the private developers, and it's really good for renewable energy being natural gas.
So cool. And Chris, you've had a hand in some of the early methane capture systems and biosolids dryer that already runs on landfill gas. So what's it like for you to see this next evolution of a full-scale renewable energy system born right here in Manatee County?
Progress. So we're a growing county, so we're always looking for the next best thing. So.
That's awesome. And I saw in your presentation to the board, this savings could be significant. Could you talk more about that?
Yeah, so it's anywhere between the floor is about $850,000 a year. The peak is really $1.7 million a year. So this will really encourage both JCI and No Petro, but also the county and county staff to really hone in and calibrate the gas collection system so we're collecting as much gas as possible. When you're flaring it, the county didn't have a lot of motivation to make sure that that system was operating at peak efficiency. So it will really, I like to use the term gamification. It'll really gamify work at the landfill and add just a little bit of creativity, innovation, and improvement to the staff in Manatee County to do those things.
I think that's so cool. And also, just a few years ago, Chris, you co-authored an article on successfully extending the lifespan of the county's landfill by over 21 years through effective airspace management. So for residents who don't really think about much, what happens after our trash when we throw it away, why is this kind of innovation so important for us?
The landfill has a life. Most people don't realize that unless you're in the industry like we are and see it every day. You put your trash at the curb and it goes away and you never have to think about it again. It's going to a single landfill that Manatee County owns, and there's only so much space. We were looking at several years ago that landfill running out of room pretty quickly. So we were, went to the drawing board with our consultants and we're looking at options and, is it time to buy another, some piece of land somewhere and do another landfill, or is there something we can do with our current footprint? And, the growth around our current landfill is getting pretty tight, so there's really not room to expand. And we came up with some really innovative ways to use our current landfill slope adjustments and height adjustments and gain that 20 plus years of life to that landfill. So now we're looking at probably, we were looking at a life ending probably about 2038, which is pretty close in when you're talking in terms of a landfill. And now we're out to probably 2057, 2058 right now for that landfill.
That's incredible.
So again, there's a life to it. So at some point we're going to have to come up with some other options.
I think it's incredible.
And I believe that article he wrote is actually a book, and you can buy it on Amazon just in time for Christmas. So I didn't know that Chris was an author. I'm impressed.
But truly, as someone who's new in this space, I've only been working with you closely on this initiative since April. I'm fascinated by how much just incredible background both of you have, the research. I mean, I was one of those people who never thought about trash after I put it in my bin. And now that I've seen this other side of it, it is really amazing how many people go into making this work for our county, keeping our county healthy, clean, organized, and doing something intentionally with our trash. So I'm curious, with recycling, there are no changes to recycling, right? We haven't had any changes to recycling. There's yard waste as well. So we have solid waste trash collection, we have recycling collection, and we also have yard waste. There's one small change to yard waste collection. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. The only thing changing with yard waste is we no longer accept plastic bags. You used to go get those contractors 55-gallon bags and fill them up with your yard waste and put them out. We are no longer accepting those. And the reason being, we contract out the processing of that yard waste. So the equipment that processor uses, the bags tangle up his equipment and causes it to have to shut down and take it apart and do clean outs. So it wreaks havoc on the equipment used to process that yard waste. So that being said, we no longer accept the plastic bags.
That's right. So you hear it here. What should we be using instead? So if I've collected some yard waste, what should I be putting that in? Or how should I handle it?
Yeah. Perfect timing with the new big bin rollout, because everybody's got old garbage cans. Save those and use them for your yard waste. Bundle it up like you've been doing. Like I said, there's really no change other than the plastic bags. So continue putting out the yard waste like you normally have. Just don't put it in a plastic bag.
So no plastic. Keep the organic material in paper or something bundled or in your old bin. So I want to talk about that too, because that was another big decision the county had to make. A lot of people have said, why don't we just recycle all these old bins? Why can't we do that?
Yeah, and we looked at that, and the material they use, you buy those, typically most people buy those bins at like a Home Depot or Lowe's. That material is not recyclable. So I've got the same bins at my house, and we wanted to do that. You figure 150,000 people, probably have, most of those people have a lot of those bins, and that's good recycling material. It's just not recyclable. The processors are unable to recycle. Just the composition of the material they use for those bins is not recyclable. So what that means is, if you don't reuse it and want us to take it, it is going into our Manatee County landfill, which, again, as I mentioned earlier, has a life expectancy. So that's just more stuff we're piling into that landfill to decrease the life of that landfill. So we want people to save those bins, use them for yard waste, use them for other things.
Yeah, find another use if you can, because it really does go a long way when you think about 150,000 households, right? Okay, let's shift a little bit from solid waste to smart water. Water Wise Manatee is an extended rollout program that's bringing advanced metering infrastructure to our unincorporated utilities customers. So make it easier to track usage, it detects leaks, it saves money. How is that rollout going, Pat, and where we are with that?
Well, thank you. It's very similar to the Waste to Earth with JCI. So JCI was also tasked with developing a project that would, essentially pay for itself in cost savings. So we have over 150,000 accounts, so 150,000 plus meters out in the system, and we're currently reading about 40% of those manually. So a person going from meter pit to meter pit every month, popping the lid, taking a reading, bringing that back to our shop, and generating a bill from that. So if you take that amount of labor, that 150,000, 40,000, or 40% being, so it's about 60,000 accounts every month. So very, very labor intensive. It gives you a on the spot, one time a month reading. So if you had a leak the day after that meter reader left your property, you would have 29, 30 days worth of a leak that you would be responsible as the property owner for that leak, for paying for the water that was wasted. So we have an old system, an old meter system, a lot of old meters, and a really inefficient system. So the cost savings project, the Guaranteed Energy Savings Project, was to replace all 150,000 meters with automated or advanced metering infrastructure. So that will allow people from their phone, from their PC, to be able to see how much water they're using somewhat instantaneous. Phase 2 rollout, after we get them all installed, you'll be able to set up alarms, set a water budget for your day, so you'll be able to see how much your family is using and really control your bill. The water and sewer bills are very controllable if you have the information, so you're able to track that. So we're just really starting to kind of hit our stride. We have about 10,000 installed so far, and we're going to continue to roll those out. Those are using either a fixed read system, which will be kind of antennas on water towers and other high spots within the county, and then cellular. So some of them will be on like an AT&T or Verizon type network. So it really kind of brings the county into kind of the current age of metering infrastructure, all at a cost savings for the county, just through a process of working, diligently over the next 30 months.
I think it's amazing. So over the next, 2.5 years or so now, we're going to get to this incredible technology. And what I saw when visiting your offices, you could actually see when water was being, like, to the hour. Like, so you could see when showers were running or washing machine, you could actually see. So part of this is just getting smarter with usage, wouldn't you say, and helping people understand when their accounts are being used and what water is being used too, right?
Yes, exactly. So if you think about right now, if there's no one at your house, there should be no water usage. You will very quickly recognize if your water is running all the time. You're going to notice that. If your water is running at different times of the day, then certain things are happening within your household that maybe you weren't aware of. For instance, if say your neighbor likes to use your hose to water their plants, and you're not home, that's very suspicious, right? So there's just a lot of good information that a customer can glean from being able to actually see their water usage.
That's right. And so one of the things I saw with one customer, because, and we have the customer experience team, I was listening to some calls, and, one customer was voicing concern that their water bill actually went up. Can you tell us why, if they're replacing an old meter with this new technology, how that could happen?
So one of the Guaranteed Energy Savings Project elements is the fact that meters, as they get older, like most machines or people, start to run a little bit slower. And by slower means they're not as accurate. So just getting back up to the accuracy level that a meter should have. So it sometimes is a little bit bitter pill to swallow, but the fact is you are probably underpaying for your water over the past several years if you notice an increase just because your meter is more accurate.
Yeah, no kidding. So, and Chris, and you're the guy who's seen the system evolve from the inside. What's it like to watch those treatment plants grow from small town setups to state-of-the-art facilities serving this booming county?
Yeah, I love it. I'm a utilities person by heart. I've worked utilities my entire life. So just seeing things grow and being involved with the just the changes and the growth and being able to research different technologies out there and make things better for all of our facilities it's been fun. So find a job you really love, and you'll never work a day in your life. So that's kind of how I feel working for utilities. It's fun, making improvements, making things more efficient.
I love it. And Pat, I'm newer than you, but you're in the scheme of 30 years newer than Chris. What's it like to compare working in utilities to where you were in Minnesota to now here in Florida?
Well, I think Chris hit it. People laugh when I tell them that waste is fun. Wastewater, solid waste, it really is a very dynamic, interesting technical field, and what we do is essential service. So, as we moved on from the pandemic and people just realizing how important their utility services were, to actually looking at a growing need within the county, growing need within the region, and just being able to provide that service has been fantastic. Change from the Midwest or from Minnesota to here, just the standards are different, the levels of treatment are different. What we do with our treated wastewater is different. Manatee County has a wonderful reclaim system where, truly are recycling treated water to be able to use that again, to be able to capture the nutrients that are in the waste and really recycle them, just the way nature would do it if we weren't, so urbanized. So it's been a great experience. I've been here about 20 months. And the level of competence and professionalism and just positive work experience that we have with our staff is really second to none.
I completely agree. So you mentioned recycling. Let's hit on that a little bit more, because we just announced a new partnership with Circular Services to improve our recycling operations, and we're using a new sorting facility. So what does this partnership mean for the future of our recycling?
Sure, and kind of new. One of our haulers was using that facility. They've invested a lot of upgrades to it. This facility we're using, the other hauler was not using it, and now with this new agreement we've got, our agreement is directly with the recycling facility, which it wasn't before. It was with the haulers. So the haulers will pick up the recycling. Technically, they could do whatever they wanted with it, but now our contract is directly with the processing facility. So, and it just happens to be that we've got one of the most advanced processing facilities in the state, if not the nation, right here in our back door. AI, driven machines. It's a sight to see.
It is.
Down there. Have you been down there?
I have not been down there, but I saw videos. I think it was from Tina.
It's amazing.
It felt incredible. Like the sorter, it could pick out individual cans if it's tensed aluminum. It was impressive.
Yep. And this recycling company, they separate the recycling materials and they sell it on the commodities market. So what this new processing contract means is, we have skin in the game. If the recycling processing market is high, we get a revenue share of that.
Okay, Manatee County residents, that means we need to recycle, because I think a lot of people wonder, does it actually get recycled? So what would you tell residents, about recycling here, and does it actually get recycled?
It does, 100%. We've been there. We've seen the facility. We know where it goes. We track all that. We're one of the top recyclers in the state of Florida here in Manatee County.
I didn't know that.
We're hoping that just improves even more. But yeah, 100%. Everything, if it's in your blue bin, unless right out of the gate the driver can tell, hey, you don't have recycled materials in there, and he'll leave it. But if he picks it up, if your blue bin is emptied out, it is going to the recycling facility 100%. Now, when it gets there, we're hopeful that most of the material in the bin is recyclable, or hope for all of it is, but, they'll sort it out there, and stuff that's not recyclable, gets shipped back to the landfill.
Right. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'll toss something in there. It's a frequent question, skeptics, whether it's actually recycled. So the skin in the game is a big part of it. So if you are contaminating, if you are throwing non-recyclable material into your blue bin and you contaminate the load, that goes to the landfill, or that goes to the processor, and then they ship it back, all at a fee to the county. So and as an enterprise fund, as I mentioned earlier, your garbage utility bills pay for your garbage service. If you want to control costs, if you want to save money, you have to be cognizant that what you do matters. And if we can up our recycling rate and it's a high quality, lack of contamination, the county will receive more money, and the county, being the solid waste fund, will receive, and that will help minimize future rate increases as we move forward. I like to say, if you have any doubt whether something is recyclable, throw it in the trash, because usually if you're thinking whether it is or it isn't, it usually is not. So we mentioned your old bins. So that recyclable material in that bin, is it recyclable? Technically, it's probably marked. Yes, it is. There's no market for it. So no recycling company is going to take it because they can't, there's no final end product for it. So if they were to take it, they would lose money. They would not be able to be in service, and they wouldn't move forward. So you'll see a lot of things on products that say it's recyclable. It technically could be, but there's nobody that's able to process it. So I think Chris probably spends a few hours a year arguing with somebody whether something's recyclable or not. Example, pizza box. It is not recyclable because it has the risk of having grease from the pizza on it. Therefore, it contaminates the load. You're just better off throwing it in the garbage. You can call and argue with me if you want, but I'm telling you, the recycling processor will kick it back, and they will not recycle it.
So pizza boxes, put those in the trash. What about, rinsing things out? Do I need to rinse out everything as best I can?
As best you can, for sure.
Okay. So rinse out our materials best you can. Also keeps your recycling bin less smelly. What about putting my recycling in a plastic bag? Should I stop doing that?
You should stop doing that, because the same thing, just like with the yard waste machines and processing machines, it's the same at the recycling facility.
Okay.
They hate plastic bags.
So actually, we've talked about all this, but there's actually a really cool tool that we offer to, if there's that question of, is this recyclable or not?
Yeah, it's called Waste Wizard, and if you go on our website and ask Cortez, he'll direct you right to it.
So if I type in, is this recyclable, it'll let me know?
Exactly. That's exactly how it works. And it's constantly updated by our communications and recycling staff.
Thanks, guys. It's time for our world-famous lightning round. Gentlemen, quick answers only. No over-engineering your responses. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Go.
Okay. Lightning round. Here we go. Okay. Between the EPA, the AWWA, and the Green Building Council, you've racked up quite a few awards, Pat. Which one gets the best spot in the office?
The Fuller Award from AWWA. So it's given to one representative from each state or each region per year.
Wow, that's impressive. All right, Chris, you have about 20 goats, 2 donkeys, a dog named Steve in your personal utility system. Which one runs the household?
Steve. Absolutely. Steve is the in charge of everything at our house.
What kind of dog is Steve?
He is a Cane Corso. So he's about 120 pounds and sweet as can be.
Oh, I love it. I got to meet Steve. All right, Pat, Vikings, Bucks, or Packers? Who's your team, really?
Well, they lost yesterday, but I have to say the Vikings.
Ah, okay. Chris, you've been in a band and are a multi-instrumentalist. If Manatee County Utilities had a theme song, what would it be?
The Big Ben Tango.
All right, Pat. Favorite unsung hero division in utilities that you wish our citizens knew more about?
That's a good one. Let's say the utility maintenance crew that oversees the wastewater plants.
Nice. All right, Chris, last question. If you could install a SCADA system to automate and monitor any part of your home or life, what would it be?
The bank account that my wife uses.
Good answer. Good answer. All right. Did they make it? I think they did. Good job, Pat and Chris. Thank you so much for joining us today and for everything that you and your teams do at Manatee County. We will link all of the specific things we mentioned here in the podcast description. But if you'd like to learn more about these programs that we talked about, from the Big Ben Advantage, Water Wise Manatee, Waste to Worth, and Circular Services, we'll have that on mymanatee.org. You can look in the lower right-hand corner and even ask Cortez, our new Manatee AI chatbot, to tell you more about these life-improving initiatives. Also, be sure to like, share, interact with this podcast. Tell your friends, because we want to keep it going and keep you informed. You can send us your questions or future guest requests. We can do that. And we really do rely on that feedback to bring things that, your friends and family and the community want to know about. Okay, so on behalf of the men and women doing work that matters, behind the scenes for you, I'm Stephanie Garrison.
Chris Collins.
Pat Shea.
And thank you. Make it a great day to live, work, and play in Manatee County.
The opinions expressed by guests of Chambers Changes and Conversations do not necessarily reflect those of Manatee County government or its employees.